Nice start. I would like to call the July 12th meeting of the Fargo Board of Education to order. This is the annual reorganization of the board. To start out, I'd like to extend a welcome to our new board members, Melissa Berkland, Katie Christensen, Naimal Dye, and Greg Clark. I, on behalf of the board, welcome you to your first meeting as members of the Fargo Board of Education. To all of you, congratulations on your success in the election held on June 14th. Since that time, you have completed your oath of office and agreed to complete the duties of a school board member. We look forward to your contributions to this board and your governance of Fargo Public Schools. Let us all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As it is our annual reorganization meeting, I will now recite our land acknowledgement statement. Fargo Public Schools respectfully acknowledges that we gather on the lands of the Echete Shakowee, who are in the Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota people, and the Anishinaabe people of this area. I would like to entertain a motion now for approval of our agenda. Jim?
I move adoption of the agenda with the addition of the HR addendum that was at our work locations.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the proposed agenda? Okay. All those in favor, please vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. We will move forward. Next item is recognition of the audience. We do have two members that have signed up to address us tonight. I will read a statement before I invite them to come up. At this time, the board will hear comments from the public. We ask that each speaker who has signed up to address the board state their name and home school district for the record. Speakers must refrain from using this forum to criticize or complain about a specific employee or student by name. Vulgar or profane language will not be tolerated. The board is interested in your comments and will listen carefully, but is not obligated to respond to or debate issues in this forum. Should you desire a written response to a specific question, you may request it. This evening, each speaker will be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. Upon conclusion of the allotted time, a chime will sound and the speaker is asked to conclude. If necessary, a final chime will sound 15 minutes later, signifying the end of the speaker's time at the podium. I will now call on our first speaker to the podium, and that is Devin Stachinski. Welcome, Devin.
I'll remember to say home school district this time. Devin Stachinski, HMR. Well, lots happened in the last 2 weeks since the last board meeting. And Jim, I absolutely agree with you. I think this is our first time. And you reminded me of something along the campaign trail when you said, there is no such thing as a free lunch. I distinctly remember saying something like that at the one of the candidate forums, and I was the only one to say such a thing, and there was a lot of other campaign promises that were alluded to. So I'm going to hope that it wasn't empty campaign promises. If you really want to do that $7 million for lunches for the kids, I expect to see everybody who said they would do it on the campaign trail to pull out all the stops. Also, I would hope that all of you who in the paper said that you wanted to see campaign finance reform for school board elections will sign on to my legislation doing such and requiring financial reporting. That legislation is being drafted currently. I'll let you know when it is done. Something else that also came out and hasn't really been talked to, and I'm sure the forum won't cover it even though it's supposed to be the paper of record, is the study that came out comparing Fargo and West Fargo in terms of COVID response and the results thereof. And boy, I really hope that you're all happy with everything that has happened and how much the students were put back for a 0.1% reduction in cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. Next speaker is Victoria. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you. First, I want to say congratulations to our new elected school board members. My name is Victoria Johnson. I often come here and give you a hard time, but today I want to talk about something that's very important as a parent, not as an advocate. At the last City Commission meeting on June 27th, a speaker brought up a concern of issue that happened at Fargo North. As a parent, what I was hearing really scared me, of inappropriate behavior between staff and students. And this one has specifically involved a resource officer. This is not the first time we're hearing of this inappropriate behavior between adults and students. As a parent, I want you to ask yourself, when do we stop? When do we stop putting our tough policies in place? There's two places children still feel safe in, and that's in their home and in school. And the only person that they can go to in school, if it happens to be the resource officer, and that resource officer happened to be the person who's having that inappropriate behavior with them or with that student, who else can they turn to? I ask that each and every one of you will go and watch that City Commission meeting. I was sick to my stomach watching it. It was very detailed of some of the things, including disco ball light that was in resource officer's office, lights were off. Teachers see this. People know this was happening. In my opinion, this should never have happened. Something should have happened way before. We've seen this continue over and over. South High, not only one, we saw it twice. One of the coaches happened to be my son, basketball coach, that was having that inappropriate behavior. When my kids showed me the video of what this coach was sending, I could not believe it. And then we had Carlben Eielson, and now North. Will there be something different on the MOU when you move forward? Because you consider the school resource officer in one of your policy, AP, I believe it's 360, I could be wrong. They're part of administration. What else are you guys gonna do? Are you gonna create a tougher policy to make sure that our children are safe? Because this should not be happening, not in school. You can't control people's behavior, but you can create a policy that's tougher to make sure that our children, when we send them to school, that we know they're not going to be having inappropriate behaviors, or somebody's going to look at them and have interest in them instead of teaching them. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Let's see here. We've heard from recognition of the audience. I did want to mention that before we move forward, there are several special visitors in our office or in our meeting tonight. Some have traveled from across the country, places as far away as New York and Nashville and closer in the area, and family members of other newly elected board members. So we are so thankful that you are here to support our new board members. So with that, I will now turn this meeting over to Dr. Gross, who will preside over the meeting for the reorganization of the Fargo Board of Education for this upcoming school year. Dr. Gross.
Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is the Canvassing Committee report. And Mr. Holden, I believe you were the chair of that committee. Do you have a report to share?
I was. I'll just make it short and just report the findings, which are basically our ballots for the evening for president and for vice president of the board for this year. After canvassing the 4 board members that were eligible for office, or 5 members, sorry, Jim, Robin, Tracy, myself, and Nikki, I found that Robin Nelson and Tracy Newman were willing to put their names forward for president, and Nikki Gullickson and myself were willing to put our names forward for vice president.
Thank you. Which then moves us down to the next item on the agenda, which is the election of officers. And we'll begin with the election of the president. In the canvassing report, which is on Memo 7, it does indicate that 2 members of the board are willing to serve in the position of president, Robin Nelson and Tracy Newman. Before we vote, I would like to, at this time, open up to the floor if there are any additional nominations for the role of president. I will ask a second time, are there any additional nominations for the position of president? And finally, a third time, are there any additional nominations for the role of president? Hearing none, at your locations, I believe there is a ballot. If you would please take that and mark your vote for president. I believe Jackie Gap will then come and collect those from you, and then she and Anne Marie Campbell will tabulate the votes.
Did you want to vote, Bob?
There might be a nomination from the floor.
So Dr. Tracy Newman has been selected as president. And then with that, I would turn the rest of the meeting over to our president.
Thought you would just keep rolling there. Thank you, Bob. Okay, so next up, we will vote on vice president. Similar process. You have your ballots in front of you. So we will,
Ask for nominations from the floor.
yes, and I don't have your written thing over there, but a similar thing that we will request any nominations for vice president from the floor. Yes, Jim.
I'd like to place Robin Nelson's name in consideration for vice president as well.
Okay, thank you for that. So if everyone could just write in Robin Nelson. I seem to have lost it here. And then I will ask 2 more times, is there any further nominations from the floor for the role of vice president? Seeing none, we'll ask one final time. Anyone want to, from the floor, nominate someone for vice president? Okay, thank you. I'll have you vote and hand them over to Jackie.
Okay, our results are in, and in the role of Fargo School Board Vice President will be Seth Holden. Congratulations, Seth. So moving on in our agenda, the next section is staff reports. First up is an FEA report. Is there anyone present this evening to present? Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on to Superintendent Report. Dr. Gandhi, I know you're online. Do you have a report?
Nothing for me. Thank you very much.
Okay, don't get used to this, new board members. With that, I'll look for a motion for approval of the consent agenda. Jim?
I move adoption of the consent agenda with the HR addendum.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on approval of the consent agenda? Okay, all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Moving on to the business section of our agenda, tonight we have memo number 6, the Building Authority membership, I believe presented by Jackie or Jim.
I'll just save Jackie the trouble. I'm going to make a motion that we approve all 9 of the current board members, as well as Jackie Gapp and Superintendent Gandhi, for membership in the Fargo School District Building Authority for the coming year.
Second.
Seconded by Seth. Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, Marie, Anne Marie, is this a roll call vote then?
Yes, it will be. Berkland. Yes. Christensen? Yes. Clark?
Yes.
Day?
Yes.
Gullickson?
Yes.
Holden?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Wow, okay, so we are on to committee liaison and correspondence reports. Maybe we'll just kind of go in order. I'll start with you, Melissa Berkland. Totally understandable if you have nothing to report.
Yes, I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Welcome, thank you.
Thanks.
Namal?
I don't have anything to report. Thank you.
Seth?
I have nothing to report this evening either. Thanks.
Oh, Robin?
I have nothing to report other than I hope that some people consider putting their names in for the Governmental Affairs Committee and submitting those names to Dr. Newman.
Yes, thank you. Jim?
Nothing to report at this point in time. We're not anticipating a planning committee meeting here in July, but if that changes, I'll notify the committee.
Nikki?
Must have been a quiet couple of weeks. The CEA will plan to meet next, I believe it's, what morning is it? It's next week. Anyway, so I hope our new members will take an interest in our desire to communicate with our community and bring some fresh ideas. Thanks.
And Greg?
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Katie?
Nothing to report.
Wow, all right. I just have a few things, I guess, under President's Report. I attended the NDSBA Lunch and Learn. I was called School Finance 101. Thought of you a little bit, Jackie. I gave a talk on back-to-school immunizations. I had a different legislative affairs meeting through NDMA. And then I attended on Friday a webinar with the Department of Education, White House, CDC, and EPA on the benefits of improving air quality and ventilations in schools, which I found very interesting. Many districts are revamping that this time of year in the summer months. And then I had my first AAP COSH meeting. So I believe that's all for me. So our next regular meeting date is August 9th. And with that, I think we are finished. I can't even see what time it is. Is it 6:30? 5:50. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Nobody move.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to call to order this Fargo School District Building Authority annual meeting. The election of Board of Directors, we have our current full board that were members of this authority last cycle. And now, let's see here, these are, I'm so sorry, I wasn't expecting to do this. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Jim, help me out.
I'd like to make a motion, Robin.
Please do.
I'd like to move that we unanimously elect all of the current seated board members of the Fargo School District, as well as Jackie Gapp and Dr. Gandhi, to serve as the Board of Directors for the Fargo District Building Authority for the coming school year.
Second.
I have a question for myself, I guess. So then the current officers would typically serve as the president and the vice president.
We're going to have that motion coming up right after this one.
Got it.
I've got
Okay.
4 motions for you.
Right on. Okay.
Jim will get this rolling.
Any questions on the motion on the floor? Okay, is this a roll call vote, Anne Marie? Okay. All those in favor, please vote by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, no. Okay. Jim, do you have another motion to make?
Yes, I do. I'd like to move the following 4 people for consideration as elected officers of the Fargo School District Building Authority for the coming year. For the office of president, I'd like to put forward Tracy Newman. For the office of vice president, I'd like to put forward the name Seth Holden. For the office of treasurer, I'd like to put forward the name of Robin Nelson. And for secretary, I'd like to renominate Jackie Gapp to serve for another term.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please vote by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, no.
You
Okay,
have to take it back.
okay. I would entertain a motion to
Oh,
approve.
no. Send it back to Tracy now.
Oh,
We have a
okay.
new president.
Got it.
I'm really glad you're here.
And now we got 3 more motions.
Okay, okay.
Thank you, everyone. So moving on, I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting from July 13th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Seth. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Was that a roll call? Sorry.
You're good for this
We
meeting.
don't
You
need
can
roll
do
call for building authority.
Okay. Moving on to adopt the budget. Jim?
Yes, I'd like to make actually 2 motions together. I'd like to move that we adopt the 2022-23 budget for the Fargo School District Building Authority, and in doing so, establish the lease payment for Fargo Board of Education for the Lease Revenue Bond Series 2017.
Second.
Seconded by Seth. Okay, any discussion? Great. All in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion passes. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.